Welcome back, super educators. I'm Yogendra Singh from Ashchan Publishing, your host for today's pedagogy based CPD series. In our first session, we explored how project based learning can make lessons more meaningful and relevant by connecting them to real world challenges. Now, in our second session, we turn to another powerful approach, inquiry based learning, a method that places curiosity at the heart of the classroom and transforms students into active participants in their own learning journey. Our speaker, Ms. Surbi Arora, is an award winning edu artist with over 15 years of experience in education. She holds master's degree in education, chemistry, and English, and is a certified career counselor, instructional designer, and Google Microsoft educator. An alumna of IIM Calcutta and IIT Patna, she has trained over 10,000 teachers and hosted more than 4,000 hours of professional development with expertise in curriculum design, technology integration, and innovative teaching strategies. She is here to guide us on how to spark critical thinking, inquiry, and deeper engagement in every lesson. Now, participants, some housekeeping rules. Participants will be muted throughout the entire session. Please ensure you have a pen and paper to note important information. The chat box will only be enabled during the Q&A round and as required by the speaker. To receive your e-certificate, please fill out the feedback form that will be sent to your registered email ID by Monday. Don't forget to participate in the quiz today after the last session. Stand a chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 5,000 rupees. Let's welcome back our inspiring Ms. Surbi Arora. Surbi ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome back. And some of you have joined from the previous session, and some of you may have joined just now. I can see there is a question by Niyati ma'am regarding how we can use the PBL inquiry in the curriculum. I will just finish that question. See, you have to keep it short and simple. You can keep hands-on activities. For instance, one project can be okay, farm to table. How does food comes to your plate? So can you just make a project around it, or can you just share something about it? Or we can talk about how do people and animals live there better, and can you just design a project around their homes. So the projects have to be simple. I can't go way beyond it because it will just kill away our time for inquiry based learning. We'll enter into now today's session, which is inquiry based learning, transforming classrooms into exploratory spaces. That's what we are going to discuss today in the second session that I have with all of you. I hope you have also had taken your lunch, or maybe you're just taking it along with the session now. I welcome back you once again. I would like you to quickly mention the name of your favorite scientist in the chat window. Your favorite scientist. Come on. Okay, so we have Nicholas Tesla, Mr. Abdul Kalam, Edison. We have Newton, Aryabhatta, Einstein, Volta, Rutherford. Okay, we have a lot of Kalam fans in the room. Sivaraman sir. Okay, fine. So we have a lot of fan following with a lot of scientists that I can see over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start with something very interesting. I don't know how many of you know about it. So I hope you can just recognize, and I've already mentioned the name over here specifically. So this is, just give me a second, everyone. Yeah. This is an image that we have of Sri Jagdish Chandra Bose Sir Acharya, and there was a project. I don't know how many of you know that while he was sitting like all of us, and he just had this idea. Okay, how do plants feel? Do plants feel anything? Do they feel touch? Do they feel emotions? Do they feel anything? And while he kept on looking at plants, and he kept on building that curiosity, that inquiry in his mind, that do plants feel anything? Do they feel or what how do is inside things happen inside them, or whatever he was trying to figure out that time. This simple question actually led to a big discovery that we all know about right now from him. So the simple question that he actually wanted to check. And we talk about he built an instrument just to see how plants respond. And this particular instrument actually became one of the biggest invention for us to know about plants, how they react to noise, how they react to sound, or how they react to different kind of parameters from air. On, and that became an interesting discovery for all of us also to know about. Now, why do we talk about it? Because the inquiry starts with what if we could hear about what's happening inside a plant, or what if plants have emotions, what if plants can think, what if plants can sing, whatever was going inside his mind at that time. Now, a quick question for all of you. What have you wondered about? Has there been any question that you have been wondering about most of the stages and have gone in depths, inquiring about it? Any question? Any question that all of you have? I hope you have access to the chat section now. Yeah. Any question that all of you have in your mind? Okay, I have how do plants grow? Not specific to the plants, anything that comes to your mind. You can just share that question. Anything that has made you wonder a lot. Is there a life beyond sky? I think that is my favorite question also. About fingerprints. Ah, that's an interesting one. Okay. Is time traveling for real? We actually did a project for our children to actually identify and think about it. How do they manage the water stress? Okay, fine. Okay, do plants feel pain when leaves are broken? About climate. So all of us may have wondered one or the other question, and me hoping that I have all the science teachers in the room. I will get annoyed if any of my science teacher says that no, ma'am, I have not wondered anything. My science teachers for sure. And I would say not just science teacher, every human being or everyone we talk about may have wondered on one or the other thing in their life again and again. Now, while I'm talking about this question, this person I hope all of you are aware about, and this photo and the name is already written on the screen, so you can actually quickly answer it. Now, even he used to wonder. So he was traveling across the Mediterranean Sea, and then he was traveling through the ship, and then he saw the sky, and then he saw the water. And why is the sea blue? That's a question is coming to your mind. And he observed light scattering in different direction, and then while he was observing it, he had an opposite question, that is sea determining what's happening in the sky, or is sky determining what is happening in the sea? What is giving effect to whom, and who is affecting whose tendency to look different at that mind? And that all that curiosity and using simple tools to investigate and an observation power led to a powerful question and led to one of the biggest discovery that we know about the scattering of light. And then the biggest discovery actually also leading to the Nobel Prize for the most important person that we know, Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose. So all these investigation and this actually came up through questions, through various kind of questions that have been happening inside the mind, inside the brain, and that have catered to a lot of situations. Now, while we talk about it, there can be simple things that we do with the children. For instance, placing these two classes on the bench, one black and one white. And I have simple question for them. Which feels hotter? A black class or a white one? Many of you know the answer and you're already aware, because that's a benefit of being a teacher. You are slightly advanced compared to your children in terms of the facts and the knowledge. But while I'm doing so, that which one is and if I hold like these two glasses, I don't know if they're visible to you, and these two glasses, I think the other one is not visible because of the background, and ask you a simple question, which one is hotter? So how do I answer it? I will touch it and then I will answer it. You will actually observe practically by touching it and then answering. And that's what we do. When we're doing such simple paradox or simple question, a simple classroom paradox is this. Why does the black paper feel hotter? You just place them and then you talk about it. What happens to the sunlight? Small question, but big science concept. And in order to teach all this, and in order to understand all this, and in order to observe all this, we don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner. We don't have to be a scientist to do it. We can actually do it by simple observation. Your classroom inquiry starter is just about observing and looking at things that are actually placed around you, in front of you, and in front of your children. That's how it actually begins. Similarly, this particular question, I think this is from one of the classrooms that I was teaching, and this question I'm bringing for your reference. This is a mango leaf mystery, I call it. Now, while I was doing this particular question, we talk about, and then one of my students asked, why are leaves green? And my simple question, like any other teacher, would be simple like, because they have chlorophyll, that's why the leaves are green. Chlorophyll, and then photosynthesis, and then all the answers coming up. However, but why green specifically? So one of the students asked that why does the leaf or chlorophyll chooses to be green? What is the reason that it wants to be green? Why that particular pigment has been selected or particular color has been selected, and why that green color has been selected by nature to be part of that plant journey? Never ever I have thought that there is a specification of why a green color until then. Because for me, it was like chlorophyll is green, and that's what we have learned, and that's what we have communicated to a student. But a student asking this question, why only green color? Why not any other color? The nature is selecting. Yes, because the chlorophyll is present, but why only green color? That was the whole question about. And why chlorophyll has to be green color? Why chlorophyll decides that it has to be green color? What if leaves were red? No, that all questions we know that leaves, because of anthocyanin and all the pigments that are there. These are all technical questions. I'm talking about the specific question a student comes back and asks you in the classroom. These kind of questions, instead of telling them, okay, don't stop asking these questions, just remember the fact that the chlorophyll is of green color. We have to encourage talking about deeper thinking and why a child is thinking and why the child is going in that direction. I will just share an incident from yesterday. My daughter came to me, and then she was learning her science chapter, and then there were her EVS chapter. She's in grade 2, and then unfortunately or fortunately, she has pretty difficult words to learn. And then she comes to me and she asks me, Mama, who decides that we need to have all these? Who decide these words? Who first thought that we will name this thing as this particular word? So she was learning about pollination, and then she was learning about germination and all these words. And she came back to me that, Mama, who decides that this is the word we are going to give, or this is the word we are going to have? And unfortunately, I was not able to answer that question properly at that time. I think, Ritu, you are mentioning that we again don't have. Can't you people? Okay, I have. Trupti, I'm sharing my screen. Everyone, I hope my voice is clear, and Ritu wants to say something. Ritu, I hope you're not again sharing that my voice is clear. Everyone, please give me a thumbs up if it's clear. And I hope you have access to chat section. Okay, fine. My screen is also visible. I saw somebody saying that. Okay, thank you. So all these questions basically spark curiosity. And unfortunately, when I, me being a teacher and then an educator, was not able to answer that question in the way she wanted an answer at that particular time. But then I told her that let me come back to you, like all of us do. Let me come back to you. Let me answer this question back to you, because this is something we are going to discuss tomorrow. And I have to go back today and answer her all the questions. So, yeah, we will have questions which we can't answer. But then that does not say that should be leaving that classroom and you should not be conducting that classroom, or you should be asking your child to be quiet and don't ask silly questions. No, that should not be the approach. Would you like to share any such question from your classroom teachers? Anything that you can think about or which came into your classrooms? I would like, okay, Ritu, do you like to talk? Yes, Ritu ma'am?
I once had a good afternoon, everyone. I once had a question in class where we were teaching birds, and I asked them to name some birds, one of the child said butterfly. So I said, definitely, butterfly is not a bird. So he asked me, butterfly has wings, butterfly can fly. Why is a butterfly not a bird?
Beautiful. I think and that's a simple logic the child applied. I'm going to mute you now. Thank you very much for the answer. But yes, now these kind of question and why butterfly can't fly, and I use this as a question in my classrooms also when I ask my children, okay, why do birds fly? And that similar analogy I'm going to share, because they have wings. And then okay, if I have wings, can I fly? And then they will come back, no, ma'am, you are fat. Maybe you can't fly. Okay, if I lose my weight, and then can I fly? Or if I give you wings, can you fly? But this is something which I will talk with a kindergarten to grade 2 child, not somebody who is already aware. Now, when I talk with teachers and ask them, okay, why do birds fly? Because they have pneumatic bones. And you don't have to tell the answer. You just take them through journey of discovering by themselves that what exactly is the reason behind it. We won't waste a lot of time here and enter into the true essence of inquiry-based learning that we wanted to talk about and start from there. Now, when we talk about inquiry-based learning, before I go there, I'm so sorry. I asked all of you to share your answers and I did not take your responses. Okay, so one of the teacher has shared, one of the question asked by a student, why cannot we check temperature of palm rather than putting a thermometer at some specific points? Nice one. Okay. Then we have somebody else has given an interesting question or answer till now. No, we don't have anyone else. Thank you for sharing, Ambreen. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Now, let's go and talk about some other inquiry-based learning, the whole cycle of inquiry that we talk about. It's a process, remember, it's not a product. We have to remember this important essential point in inquiry. Students ask their own questions. So you don't become the master there and start asking questions from them. No, that's not how it's going to happen. It's mostly that you give a situation to them and they have to ask question and they have to enter into that, what do we say, learn to ask question in that particular journey. They investigate to find answers. First, they will ask question and then they will run their own investigation. They will use evidence to build explanation that, okay, this is the question, this is the investigation, and this is the evidence which is supporting my investigation. It's about how we know and not just what we know. So the journey of discovering towards the answer and coming towards the answer is an important journey in inquiry-based learning. And so, according to you, what is the final goal now? What do you understand? Is it the product or the process in inquiry? This will also clarify a lot of differences from the previous session that we have done. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of answers which are coming up. Process. Okay, so most of us agree, yeah, it's the process. So in case of inquiry, we are not focused on the product, that whatever is the final outcome, I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about the journey that you are taking. I'm not worried about the destination in case of an inquiry-based learning. Now, that's an important part for you to remember. For instance, look at the differences when we talk about inquiry versus when we are talking about any activity-based teaching that we are running in a classroom. Now, in case of an activity, it's almost like making your grandma's chocolate chip cookies. You will follow the whole recipe. However, in case of inquiry, there's something is different. In case of activity, you will just do follow how to guide. In case of inquiry, you're designing the instructions, the what if journey. What if instead of this particular, butter, I use this butter, or what if I use 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract? So you're going to design that what if journey in case of a inquiry. Comparatively, you will be talking about activity confirms what is known. So you're given up with a to-do list or you're given a way to run an experiment, you will perform that experiment, you're confirming, okay, this is how it is done. However, in case of inquiry, you are going to design a process or design something for the unknown, which you don't know. For instance, me trying a new recipe, which has never been made. So when I'm doing it, that turns out to be an inquiry process that I'm going to do. Now, goal is to understanding and not just completion that we are trying to achieve in inquiry. So please remember the goals that we keep on talking about while we are running an inquiry thing which is there. Okay. I would request, okay, I can see that some of you are dropping messages in the chat, which are about some feedback forms from the past or what. It kind of distracts because I feel that you're asking a question. If you can just write an email or you must be having some link for somebody and and I think the team has already shared that you will be getting everything. Uh,
Sorry to interrupt, Survi ma'am. So participants, you will be getting your the feedback form by Monday. So you all have to fill the feedback form to get the e-certificates. Okay. So on Monday, you all will be getting the feedback form on your registered email ID. So you all have to fill that feedback form to receive your e-certificates. Okay, ma'am. Now you can continue. Sorry for the
um,
interruption.
that's perfectly
Yeah.
okay. I understand your certificates are important these days, everyone. Okay, So let's continue and let's go back to the discussion. Now, I would like you to answer. So, because we were distracted, so let me cross-check if you have understood what I've shared. As per inquiry, what is important, discovery or verification? Submit your answers. Sanya was quick. Okay, somebody said both. So let me be very clear. Discovery is the first step, which has to be part of the inquiry, which you will, how do you discover is the beginning part. But obviously, once your discovery journey starts, you have to submit your proofs. So verification also becomes extremely important. But if I have to select one, then I will go with the first one, which is discovery. But if given an option, both are important, but discovery is more important in the process of inquiry-based learning. Now, again, talking about my role as a teacher in an inquiry based journey, now that becomes again important for us from source of answer to asker of question. So right now your students will not seek you more like a lecturer who is giving it. From director you become a facilitator. Now you're going to completely facilitate and direct. It's very similar to what we do in project based learning, but in a slightly different context. You're standing outside the whole bucket. You encourage students, I don't know, let's find out kind of scenarios, and then you are not telling them the answer. That's very important. And you're going to value the process, just not just the right answer. So teacher role is of more of a director or a guide. What do we understand from it? What exactly a teacher has to do? Being a director or a guide? Yes. The teacher has to be a guide in the journey. The teacher is not the director. This is not your project. This is students' project. You are just a guide. You're not going to help them out by being a director in that journey. You're just going to help them out by being there in case they need you, only in that particular scenario. Now, let's look at a simple framework to understand the segment. What I've done is I'm giving you an acronym to understand all the steps that we have to take in an inquiry cycle. I hope you remember the acronym from the previous session also. We did an acronym which was DRIVE over there for project-based learning, but in case of inquiry-based learning, we are doing an India Q cycle. Now, when we talk about it, first step, identify a phenomena and wonder exactly whatever we want to talk about. The second step, you can take a screenshot of this one once we are done with it. Notice and predict whatever you are noticing and whatever. So notice is more about observation, whatever you are observing in that particular segment. And then you make your predictions, which is more like a hypothesis or whatever you are building at that state. You design a fair test, you investigate and record data, and then you argue with evidence and question again. So we call it India Q because it's easy to remember, and you can easily apply it with your students and anywhere that you're doing it. So we identify a phenomena and wonder. What we do is we notice and we predict, we design a fair test and we investigate and record it. And finally, we argue with evidence and question again. Now, can you tell me by looking at the screen itself, what is the D over here in India Q? What is a D? Yes, Shanto. Shanto is very fast. Same with Niyati also participating and a lot of people. I think there's a lot of repetitive names. Great. I think like next time we should pick up certificates with how many people are answering. And then some data should be mapped through Zoom back, some algorithm should be run in that way. Okay, great. So I can get all the answers there. So yes, the correct answer is design that we are talking about. Now let's look at the student role. For instance, in case of identify, teacher presents a person, student asks why. So let's understand how a teacher and a student will work in collaboration in this one. Now, similarly, in case of notice, teacher prompts, what do you see? And then student observes. So that is why we are saying it's a collaborative, but teacher is in the beginning. See, the first inquiry, if you're expecting it, it can be the standard inquiry that is expected out of you. No, that's not possible because your students are not trained in it. For instance, it's similar to supposingly I give a question in the final exam, the type of question which I've never practiced with my children. So there is 100% possibility that most of them will not be in a position to attempt it properly because they're not ready for it. In the same way, you cannot go for a perfect version of inquiry in the first course. So you start with, that baby steps where you prepare them for it, and then finally they are ready to perform in the classrooms. Now, similarly, design teacher asks, how can we test? And student will suggest variables. Then the teacher manages safety, student collects data. So teacher will make sure that everything is taken care of in a good way and that students are not going haphazardly testing a product or investigating a research. So the teacher has to design it. And the teacher asks, how do you know? And student will explain the data. So if you see, it's a collaborative effort, but then the teacher will not give the answer. The teacher is just prompting the answers or the questions in the right direction in the beginning. However, gradually, when the student understand the whole cycle and you just give them the problem statement, they will start working on it one by themselves. We'll learn about it gradually, but very difficult to share all these practices on implementation in the classroom. But whatever you can get from a 1 hour session, I think the best you can take it from here today. I will start with certain practical strategies that you can apply in classroom. Now, I hope you've taken screenshot for this one also. The first practical strategy is notice and wonder. So what you do is you ask them to create this in their notebook, and then they can actually write, and you can show some image, and then they can say, okay, this is what I noticed, this is what I wonder about it. So you can show them some interesting phenomena, whatever you want to show, that you can show them. You can show them a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, whatever image you want to show, and then you can ask, and then they have to write. Now, in the beginning, there will be difficulty for students to even understand the term I notice and I wonder. So what you can do is you can give them some hints. Okay, this is what you notice and this is what. So you show them one image and give them some idea. Okay, this is how you write about it. And then you give them another one to understand. Now that depends on the level of children you're working with. I'm talking about a level where we can have different students from different backgrounds and different approaches working in the same classroom. So first students notice list out what they notice, and then they generate wonder question. I wonder if solar uh, if this eclipse can be harmful. I wonder if this sun can come down, or whatever kind of wonder questions that you're expecting them to have. No wrong observational question. Please remember, even if they're mentioning something which you feel is wrong or something they're observing, and they're saying, okay, I can see a red color coming up, I can see it's a drawing, so you will not actually question them over there. It's more about just allowing them a free space where they can just share whatever they are thinking. And then gateway to deeper investigation is what we are trying to build. So this is known as I wonder, I notice strategy. This is the first practical strategy we can do with our children. The second one is more of a structured one, which you can apply, which is known as predict, observe, and explain, a POE strategy. I believe you would have seen in some of the books or references also these kind of strategies, if you have. Now, these strategies, they predict what you think will happen, the first thing. So you show them an image or you show them a situation, and then you ask them, okay, what do you predict? What is going to happen here? Or you can show them a video also. So supposingly I'm showing them a video of two objects falling at the same time, or I am actually holding, these pens, and then I hope you can see these pens. Yeah. And I'm going to drop them and I'm going to ask them, okay, can you predict what is going to happen overhead? And then they predict. Then what is actually happening then when I do it? They make a note of it. Okay, this is what is actually happening. And then I, explain why do you think it happened. So I have converted a small thing of two falling objects, which is a very famous example of Galileo, into a very interesting POE strategy in the classroom. That's what you can do with your children. Now, when we know about it, it allows us to connect prior knowledge to new evidence. So that's what we are able to do. It's great for demonstration of small experiments. So the POE strategy works wonders with your children, which is predict, observe, and engage. Take a screenshot of this one, everyone. Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. Okay, now there's another powerful strategy, which I call as talk moves. Now, why talk moves? In the beginning, you will face a problem that is very difficult to come up with some ideas. I shared this example multiple times. Let me share this example once again. I remember I was taking a class, and it was a college, class of, I think, first year students in college. And then I was taking this class, and I asked my children, okay, I want you to think creatively. I want you to think out of the box. And this particular student came to me and then asked a very innocent question that, ma'am, how do you think out of the box? Or how do you think creatively? Thinking in itself requires a lot of push And not all people are born with that thinking idea. So all these strategies that we're talking about actually turn them into good thinkers and good questions. They learn to ask good questions at the same time. Now, these talk moves like what is, why do, can you explain, how do you, is it true that, where can we find, or whatever. These are starters which give them an idea that how they can create their own question or how they can actually think in that direction. Now, count to seven after a question. Why do you think that? Pushes for reasoning. So I tell them, okay, count to seven after that question. Why do you think that's happening? Or can you say more? So it's basically we are elaborating on encouraging on elaboration. Do you agree or disagree, and why? How can we be sure? So they give me an answer, ma'am, I think that this is there, but how can you be sure? Do you have any evidence? So basically what I'm going to push towards is getting an evidence out of it. Now, can you share your favorite talk move? Like, what do you think? I would give you time to think on this one because it's an important, interesting question. But what do you think is a prompt that you can use with your children, which can help in deriving a good answer from them? I would like you to use the chat section to share your answers. Okay. Thinking, give reasons or justify. Okay. Properties of geometry, somebody has given. Any kind of talk moves. Okay. What is your opinion now? Beautiful. What is your opinion is a nice question prompt that we can use. Socrates' method is a methodology. I would like you to give me a prompt. Like, what is your opinion? Is something, is a prompt which I would consider. Okay. So am I saying hints? Hints can be given up. Keywords. So we have some ideas which are coming up, but we have to understand when I'm creating a good prompt, it has to be in a form of a phrase. How can you be sure about it? What would you do? Great, great. That's a nice one, Mridula. Cues. Yes, that's what I'm asking. Ask opinion. So what has to be the sentence there? Can you share the performed activities? Can you distinguish between the two terms? So that's how the prompt has to be. What do you think is happening if given a picture, or what do you think must be talking? Now, imagine if you are. Now, great. So these, I hope we have learning the strategy of making those powerful talk moves now. Yes, Pauline, what is your opinion about? So these kind of question is something that we need to add as a practical strategy when we talk about talk moves. Now, let's go ahead. There are other strategies also because we were limited on time, so I could not elaborate on all of them separately. So what I've done is I've created a single slide where you can just look at them and understand. For instance, the first one is think, pair, and share. I think most of you must be aware about. It's a very famous strategy. You allow students some me time to think about. So you give them a problem statement or a question or anything that they want to look at, and then they think about it, and then they actually sit with somebody and they discuss with it, and then they discuss it with the whole class. So that can be there. Somebody is sharing that KWL chart is also something that we can do. Yes, that's also a strategy which can be applied. Similarly, question ladders from surface to deep. So you start with basic question. The question ladders is a very interesting approach if you know about it. It's actually a ladder form structure. You start with the basic type of question. You keep on increasing on the question level gradually. So you start with factual questions. It's more like imagine the Bloom's taxonomy going in the upward direction. So that's the question ladder. From factual question, which is more like remembering question, you go towards the more of application based question or analytical based question over there. And each level, it builds complexity as you go up. Now, then there is another thing which is known as a wait time and cold call magic. How do we do it? You wait for 5 seconds after question. Now, most of the time, teachers, after asking a question, they don't give a pause. So we suggest that after you ask a question, you wait for 5 seconds before students start answering the questions or before anyone starts talking, so that the answer which is coming up is coming with a thought process and not coming up just as an impromptu response or reflection to whatever the teacher asked. And then gradually we build expectation and participation, and there are quality responses that come up. Now, I will show you a sample, inquiry, some projects. Like for grade 1, 2, which objects sink or float? That's a very basic question. I do it with like anyone. You just keep on giving them objects and just ask them, okay, we'll test sink or float, and then you keep on making a note in the notebook. A very simple investigation and inquiry. Then for grade 3, 4, what makes a seed sprout fastest? So again, in that case, we set up control experiments and then we do it. Then how does area affect evaporation? A very simple question. Then you have one. So what we do is, and we focus from 1 period to 3 periods, and we clear the concept to depth by running an investigation with our students. And our goal is to understand the core concept. So gradually we are going to run a core concept understanding. Now, in case of classrooms, which are big in size, I prefer a station mechanism where we set up a lot of stations, the clock stations, and then we every group rotates in 10 to 15 minutes. Now these can be designed across a Saturday or a good activity periods which is there. So every station comes up and teacher circulates and facilitates throughout the station. And one station can be teacher led and other stations are mostly student led, and they can move around in that particular sections. Now I would say that if preferably, if you can do just do a lot of anchor charts in case of stations, and can have anchor charts in multilingual languages, in case that's what is your approach at a school. Now, what do you think, stations are manageable? I would like to have a quick response, because for me they were manageable. I have seen some teachers complaining that they are not. So yes, so they are manageable. That's great if all of you are comfortable with stations. But usually what I do is I usually keep an alarm. So as soon as the time is up, the alarm rings. So my students know they have to stop, and then they have to move to the next station. Otherwise, and then explain them in advance with instruction. So it's important that your instructions are given in a very clear way so that students are managing and performing well. Now, I've kept some sample activities for you to understand for grade level difference. That when I'm dealing with grade 1 to how should I deal in grade 3 to 5? What do I do? Grade 6 to 8, what do I do? So let me just share some techniques. It's already visible on the screen. I've given you what I see and what I think. Our focus is on observation and description in grade 1, 2. Please remember that. We use drawing, symbol charts to elaborate more. You will have questions like, what do you notice? What feels different, or what feels misaligned from in this particular picture, and why do you think this is not suitable? So you will give them questions in a way which are more emotionally connected with their understanding. And you use drawings and simple charts, and we can have whole class notice wonder charts pasted across. And sorting and grouping object is the main focus. Now, when working on scaffolding techniques with grade 1 to 4, what do you think is much better? Do I give them a notice way or a wonder technique, or do I ask them to draw? What do you think will work best as per you for grade 1 and 2? Okay. Now I can see that most of you have written draw. Even I would agree to some extent that even I have noticed when I'm working with grade 1 and 2 students, the drawing portion works wonders with them, and they are able to focus on in that in a much better way. So drawing is something which I would also promote. But yes, if your students can read and write properly and they have developed that capability, then notice and wonder also works. Wonder also works wonders with them, that you can do. Now, when we talk about scaffolding for grade 3 to 5, let's see this particular chart I've kept. And then once we have finished one stage and given them an activity, we can ask them, okay, what I changed, what I kept the same, and what I have measured. These kind of strategies can be done. Now, let's understand, introduce the idea of a fair test. That how do you test? So you are going to explain to them that what is a fair test, how do you test, and how do you observe things, and once observation is done, how do you test them? So that has to be introduced by grade 3 to 5. Then use simple data tables, like 2, 3 columns can be done, in which they have to share the information. What could we change? How will we measure? So that's the question that I'm trying to pour in over there. So remember, in grade 3 to 5, in grade 1 to 2, I'm trying to build more of observation skills. In grade 3 to 5, I should, kind of promote myself and focus more on the testing skills. However, if your students have never worked on inquiry, then we have to work on all the stages and all the grades. So please don't forget that. I'm just sharing an idea of how a complete curriculum should be built up across the grades, but it will change if your school has never practiced it. Now use sentence starters for explanation. That's what we can do. And sentence starters like we have done earlier also. Now, what do you think will ask for more brainstorming in kids? A change, a keep, or measure? So, what do you think students will brainstorm more about if I ask them, okay, what I changed, what things you have changed, or what do you want to keep, or what do you want to measure? I hope you understand this question. I just want you to think from a student's lens and perspective. What to change, okay? Okay, so what to change, we all are kind of in favor of. It's very difficult for students to understand what exactly they did. Measure and all are more technical in nature, but yes, what to change becomes very difficult. So when they have created something and when they have done the data analysis, they don't understand that, okay, should I be changing anything? But the most important part in any kind of research is that you have to go back and no project is done in first go. It has to have a lot of changes. Great. Now, when we talk about grade 6 to 8, now this is the kind of data we will be focusing more on. We'll be talking about variables and controls. We'll be talking about multiple trials and averaging. So your best version, your least version, and then your best and worst version, and then talking about taking an average of the data so that you can also talk about it, creating calculating the mean and the medians in that data. So that is also a kind of a math which will be integrated at that stage. What is a pattern? What explains the pattern is something we're trying to understand. We're looking for evidence-based reasoning and citing data for all of them. Now, when we are working again in this particular perspective for grade 6 to 8, what matters the most to me? The claim, I'm so sorry. Maybe you're irritated that ma'am keeps on asking us a lot of questions over here, but then that keeps me giving an idea of how you think. So, what do you think is most important, a claim, an evidence, or reasoning? Beautiful. Most of us agree that even if I have evidence, even if I have some claims, but if I cannot reason it out, I cannot work on that particular parameter. So, yes, I need evidence, but I need evidence-based reasoning. Alone evidence will not serve the purpose. I should be in a position to reason it out why this evidence makes sense. There can be certain evidences which you will discard during that journey. Know that this evidence does not match the kind of result or the kind of experiment I'm trying to run here, or a kind of research I'm trying to do here. So yes, this will happen. Now, how do we assess inquiry? So now we have almost understood and we have reached a stage where we have spoken about that what exactly is an inquiry, how does inquiry function, and we have seen some examples of inquiries running in different grade levels. Now, as a teacher, ultimately, we end up putting up everything into that bracket of assessment. And if I'm not able to assess my inquiry, again, I end up that, okay, how am I going to justify that I have invested 1 week of my periods doing something which I'm not able to assess and give some, stamp to my student that, okay, that they have finished some work. So how do we do that? We assess the process and not just the answer. So that's the first thing you will be doing. Questioning, are the questions testable? That's you're going to check. Then you're going to take the method. Then we are going to talk about reasoning. Did we use evidence to explain? Use quick checks, exist break, notebook and entries. So we are going to do one thing is understand this rubric. Before I go anywhere, please take a screenshot of it. This is also a shortcut rubric, which is a 3 by 3 inquiry rubric. Your criteria are developing, achieving, and excelling. And then you have question quality, method and fair test, and evidence and reasoning. This is a very shortcut method to actually build a rubric for inquiry. So for instance, in case of a developing stage, ask a journal question. Question is not easily testable. However, in an excelling stage, I'm talking about ask a question, testable questions that compares variables. So for grade 1 and 2, maybe I just stay here, but grade 3, but so your level of scoring will change as per the grade level. Please note whatever I'm sharing, it may not be applicable to all the classes. So you have to have your own judgment and understanding when you understand it. Okay, so that's one thing. Then let's go to the next one, which we have, which is different myths that I have seen in case of teachers, that how do we use it. Nilima, I was not planning on sharing any notes. So if you take screenshots, that will be okay. Otherwise, I have to work hard to create notes again for this one. Myth is inquiry is chaos. Many people think. Some teachers come back to us, people believe that in case of inquiry, the teacher will not explain anything. And then some consider that inquiry needs a big lab, and some may say that it's too slow for syllabus. But let's crack these myths which are there in our mindset and understand inquiry for a better way. The reality is, inquiry is not chaos, it's structured questioning. If you allow students to just question and say anything, then yes, it's a chaos. But if you structure it, it's not a chaos. So the strategies that I gave you in the beginning, all the strategies, 3 strategies, and then 3 more that I gave you on a single screen, those are the strategies that will help you in developing a structured questioning. The teacher never explains. The reality is teacher explain after student explore. So the teacher will not explain till the stage the students are exploring. Then the teacher gives opportunity for students to share, and post that the teacher can collect all the ideas and then brief it for everyone in case somebody has not understood it in a good way. Then it needs a big lab. No, it does not require a big lab. It can be done with simple materials. It actually, and some believe that it's slow for syllabus. However, it teaches concept for a deeper and a longer understanding. I would like you to share now, what is your biggest challenge as a teacher running an IBL class? What have you faced as a challenge there? Okay. Number of students, time constraints, syllabus, time. I think I'm getting the similar answers. Class size, timing, practical knowledge. Time is becomes a constraint everywhere. I am limited on time today. I'm left with almost 11 minutes to finish this session. So I think time is a constraint every day in our life. And to finish so much of inquiry in just 60 minutes is also tough, everyone. So time, I think, is a big struggle. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about it, some of the challenges, and then the solutions that I have brought for you. So your challenges were quite known to me. So the first one, not enough time. We can use for micro inquiries, 1 or 2 periods. That's what we can create. I think I have a sample for all of you. We can use those sample to understand how do we create a micro inquiry. For a large class size, we can use station rotation. So that's one thing. For language diversity, I would prefer you to go for bilingual word banks or drawings or actions. And for safety, set clear rules and use low risk materials. Never use or run an inquiry on something which can be risky. No activities worth more than a child's safety. So I would rather ask you to have only if you have provisions for activities which are slightly on the riskier front, go for it, or don't do them. You will not risk a child's safety for anything, any kind of project. Now, inquiry, I think I will just skip on this one. I don't want to spend, but these are some benefits that we have from inquiry, that it helps in building curiosity, observation, patterns, and evidence-based reasoning, and builds up a factual understanding also. Uh, do you feel that inquiry is beyond remembering facts? It can be a yes or no answer that you can give. Yes. So, yes, inquiry is beyond remembering facts. That's the major difference. You are not forcing students to remember facts. You're forcing children to understand patterns, behaviors, and observations in that journey. Now I will showcase some sample templates. From here onwards, please take screenshots, and I will allow my screen to be visible to you for a couple of seconds for you to take screenshot. Now, the first one is a question bank. In the beginning, I asked you to create some question, but many of you were not able to answer. So if you see over here, these are some questions. I will start with grade 3 to 5. What questions are we trying to answer? What do you predict will happen if we, why do you think that? What if the one thing we should change? How could we measure? How could you observe? So these are different question stem. In case of grade 6 to 8, our question stem become tougher. What is our independent variable? What are the control variables? What pattern do you see? How can we represent data in graphs? So the question stem will become slightly on the tougher end when we enter into the second stage over there. So that's one major difference that you are going to look at. Now, when we go ahead, I think Yes, kindergarten can be similar to grade one, Niyati. And kindergarten, I think you can also run small observations in a way like showing them two pencils. Okay, which one is, uh, not limiting the questions to just the scientific part. I think everything that is around them should be an inquiry for them. Okay, so that can be done. For instance, why black color is visible and why it is not when you are, it is visible, but when you're doing on a white paper. So that can turn into a question of inquiry for students to think about. Yes. Then let's talk about a log template. So as teachers, when you finish, this can be a lesson plan template also, or a template for your students to have for submissions. You can just take a screenshot, create it as a document and submit it to them, or write it in the, or paste it in the classroom notice board. Our big question, my prediction, what I think will happen and why. Our plan, how we will do a fair test. The one thing we will change, the things we will keep same, the things we'll measure. Now, this template is based on the information that I've shared with you earlier, but it can be changed as per your understanding. And then what surprised us? That's the most beautiful question, because I get very interesting answers when students answer this one. I hope you have taken a picture of this template by now. So let me go to the next one. And this, so these were the templates till now. Now, when we are building a micro inquiry, I would require all of you to, kind of share commitments with me while we are talking about this. That when we talk about first micro, a promise to the students, I would say that start small, but start soon. That's what you should be doing. Pick one topic from upcoming chapter, and I want you to do it right away. I'm waiting for all of you. And use the handouts to plan a one period inquiry and examples which I'm referring more to the templates that I've given to you. For example, which paper towel is most absorbent is a can be a basic question. Aim to try it within the next 2 weeks. Now, can you just all of you right now share with me one topic do you think that you can pick up from your present curriculum and share with your children as a inquiry question? Think about it. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Okay, leaves, I'm getting as one. Shadows, great. Type of angle, square root word problems. Okay, I have some math teachers as well. Magnet, refraction, plants. A lot of people are interested in plants and solar system. Memories of dreams. Beautiful question, actually. What is the difference? Or what are they? Why plants bend outside the balcony? Okay, nice one. Cube root and exponent, I think we can have some good, kind of research there. Shapes and phases of moon. So all these questions, I think, can be converted into good investigations and good inquiries that you can have with your student. So now when you're committing to me over here, please go back and make sure that you are working with your children in that session and that way. So finally, what are the key takeaways that we have from today's session, everyone? Inquiry starts with an authentic wonder. Please remember that. Use the India Q cycle as a guide. I hope you remember it. I don't have to repeat it once again for all of you. Then shift your role from teller to being a facilitator, and then start with short, manageable micro inquiries in your classrooms and assist the process of thinking and not just the final answer. That's what I would like you to, all of you to do. So thank you very much for the participation. I would love you all of you to share your one key takeaway in the chat. I've spent 2 hours with all of you, and some of you 2 hours, some of you just 1 hour. But what is your key takeaway? India, okay. I think you should remember that one. Great. India Q is most of you are actually talking about. Yes, I hope you remember that now. Think and let them think. Actually, student autonomy. Nice one. Though I never used that word, but I like the word you have shared with me. Being a guide and not the director. Yeah, it's very tough, but try it. Inquiry is discovery. Beautiful to Alison Anna. All of the teachers are still the students. Yes, all of us are. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. I have this room open now for any questions. If you have questions, I think we have 3 minutes. I can take your questions right now. I will just focus on the questions now, if you have any. Okay, no questions. Great.
Thank you so much, ma'am, again for such an insightful and inspiring session. I believe participants have got a lot of insights from this particular session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the session.
Anyone want?
Yeah.
We have 1 minute, if 2 minutes, if somebody wants to ask a question, they can, or somebody wants to share anything, they can.
Yeah, so participants, any question, if you want to ask, you can put your question in the chat box.
Okay, Ritu, I will give you a chance to, you are the only one getting a chance, so yeah, you can unmute. Ritu ma'am. Given you the right to unmute if you want to, and others, if you have questions, you can.
Yeah, hi, good evening, good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I would just like to ask how can these strategies be implemented on the KG level?
See, KG level it completely first, if you're going with the methodology of strategies I've given, only if your children can read and write, that can be functional. Now, in that case, it may be difficult. So we go with a very basic one. What do you think? What do you wonder? And we ask these questions to our students. So we have to give more of visual, prompts to our students, and then they have to paste stickers or go there. Okay, do you agree to it, or do you disagree to it? These kind of strategies can be useful. So I would say make it more visual than a written format for your students in those cases. So somebody is saying nowadays students are not interested in studying. How do we manage? I think that inquiry-based learning makes you manage the students who are not interested in studying, because they are genuinely interested in inquiry when you talk about it. What do you mean by safety in projects? Okay, Namrata, that's important. Now, supposingly you are giving a research project to students. Okay, I want you to go and check the water levels. They should not be, or the purity of the filter, or how do we affect it. So they should not be going and peeping into the school, water RO system and looking into it. You have to control that, because when you work with senior classes, they can take all the kind of risk, and that can be risky for you. So you have to limit the project and the parameters around it. And even if you're asking them to visit at home some place, they should not take it as an excuse to try some activity which can be risky for them. So that's the kind of safety I'm asking. Okay, thank you. I think you can. I'm good.
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Ruby, for showing us how inquiry can transform learning from passive listening to active exploration. Up next, we'll turn to a teaching tool that has stood the test of time: storytelling. For centuries, stories have captured attention, inspired imagination, and made knowledge unforgettable. In the classroom, they can do all this and more, helping students connect emotionally with what they learn. Now, participants, take a quick break and join us back at 4:30 p.m. for our next session. And after our next session, we'll be having our much awaited CPD quiz. So don't forget to join us for the next session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session.